My name is Jacob Knipp. I am the CSE Pathway Director here, which means that I am working in our high school college showcase division of Triple Crown alongside college sports evaluation. So I played football in college for 5 years. I was a quarterback. Overall, had a great experience. Played 1 year of college baseball as well. But yes, played 5 years of football in college.
What was your experience with mental health struggles, if you had any?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I had a series of injuries that put me back for 3 years in a row. I had 3 season-ending injuries, all to my left shoulder. And in that 3rd year, I felt a lot of pressure to stay healthy because I had opportunities to play at the next level. And during training camp of that year, I, for the first time in my life, experienced what true anxiety was. I wasn't sleeping for weeks at a time, and I didn't really know what was wrong with me, and I was trying to figure it out myself for a while until I finally realized that I needed to get help. Just because I was putting so much pressure on myself to not only stay healthy, but to play at a high level at the same time. And it was just too much for me to handle. And so that was kind of what I experienced my senior year of college football. I think it is harder for men to talk about it just because there is a perception growing up. I was never taught it. It's just kind of like this perception that, you know, if you have an injury or if you're dealing with something, you kind of just figure it out for yourself. And, you know, it is what it is. And I think nowadays people talk about it a lot more on the male side as well. That it's okay because we're all dealing with stuff. It doesn't matter who you are. And if you can actually talk about it, you instantly feel 100 times better. And once you realize that everybody's gone through something and you lean on people that you trust and the people around you that you can count on, it really gives you the support that you need to get through it. I would just say, as hard as it may be or seem, you need to bring it up to somebody who you trust. And maybe it isn't somebody that you trust. Maybe it's just a stranger. But as soon as you get it off your chest and talk about it, you then realize that everybody's going through it in one fashion or another, whether it's depression, anxiety, whatever it may be. Everybody's dealing with something, especially college athletes. There's just so much pressure that's put on you to perform, to get good grades. It's a lot. And everybody in a room, in your locker room, whatever it may be, is dealing with something at some level. And so once you talk about that, you feel more comfortable with it, and then you just accept it. And I've gotten to the point now where, you know, with everything that happened, I kind of just accept the fact that it's there, and I acknowledge it. And when things come up, I just acknowledge that it's there. I know how to cope with it. But I think once you accept it and acknowledge it, you're able to live with it, and it's not going to bother you anymore. It's interesting for sure. I mean, when you're playing a sport your entire life, that's all you know. And I knew at some point football was going to come to an end. But at the same time, I worked really hard in school because I knew eventually there would be an end, whether it was when it was or later on. I knew that I wanted to be as successful, if not more successful, in that next chapter. So yes, it's kind of figuring out what that chapter looks like and you know, what role you're going to play. But everything that you learn in your athletic career translates to your career outside of sports. And so for me, like, yeah, I miss competing. I mean, if you love it enough, everybody's going to miss competing with your teammates and grinding. Like, that's something that I will always miss. But for me, I'm more excited about what's next and growing and kind of figuring out how far I can take this next chapter of my life. So yeah, I'm kind of figuring out that identity, but at the same time excited to see how far I can push this next chapter. Yeah, I think it's a lot different now than what it was when maybe I was coming up, getting recruited. I think, like I said, there's always this perception that athletes are kind of put on a pedestal, right? And everybody's like, oh, well, they're performing and they're on TV. Like they can't have weaknesses. Like they're some of the most physically and gifted people that we watch. And all of a sudden, like they're putting a different light on these student athletes than just, a normal individual. And so at the end of the day, everybody is a person and everybody deals with the same stuff, like I said earlier. And so once people realize that and accept it, student athletes can talk about it because they're all dealing with it and there's so much pressure put on them already. You don't need that extra perception on top of it. So I think what's going on in the last few years as far as people coming out, speaking about it, I think it's great because I think the more conversations that are had, the more discussions, the more comfortable people will feel. And I think we're definitely headed in the right direction.